And here we go.
Ashworth for three. Oh, he banked it in. That caught window.
Now he's going to go. Richmond fighting through Pierre. Richmond from the free throw line. Good! Good!
Deals the basketball near sideline. Maxey for the win. Got it! He got it! Juwan Maxey with 2.5 seconds to go.
Hello, friends. Welcome into another episode of the D1 and Done Pod. This pod brought to you by the official Mountain West and SEC correspondent, the benefactors of the pod, the Hagen Hall boys. Make sure you give us a follow on our social media pages. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are D1 and Done Pod. You can also email us. It is d1anddonepod@gmail.com. That's the letter D, the number 1, and donepod@gmail.com. Hey, leave us a review and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us, whether that be on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And you can always find us anywhere on social media. I am Robby Donahoe, Nick Mills, Dusty Mills, all in. We are ready to roll. This is a podcast that we may have to do some soul searching on for 2 of the 3. And unfortunately, fortunately for me, I'm not involved, but it's the Kentucky guys that are going to have to talk through their grief here. This was not a weekend I thought we were anticipating, because coming into this last week, I think most of us probably thought that Kentucky would go 1-1, but the one win would be at home against Arkansas, not at Tennessee. Now here we are. So we will get to top stories talking about Arkansas, Kentucky. I will talk Purdue IU. We will also talk one game. We will recap. We'll go through the most recent AP Top 25 and our D1 and Done Top 25 polls. Sidelines, buy or sell. Our first bubble watch of the year with Nick as we check in where we're at, our bracketology and upcoming schedule. We do have a rather large standalone game tonight in Lawrence, Kansas that we will get to. But I want to begin with the Kentucky side of the pod, as both Nick and Dusty were in Lexington. Nick had boots on the ground inside of Rupp Arena. So, Nick, I will begin with you. Can you explain to the people listening what Rupp Arena felt like on Saturday night?
First of all, yep, I was there with my dad. We were in attendance. It was a 9 p.m. tip, and you can just feel the anticipation all day, even getting there Friday night. Just like the countdown was on. I saw Matt Jones who people don't know, the host of Kentucky Sports Radio, the biggest, I don't even want to call him, like radio affiliation in Kentucky, blah, blah, blah. He said they never had a pregame show like it. Rupp Arena was just salivating at the mouth. It was 75% full an hour before tip-off.
Jeez.
The place was ready to rock, and it was just an unreal atmosphere. They got 18-12 in the game. That place was on fire. Definitely the loudest I've ever heard it. And for people who didn't see, they did boo, which I was part of that.
I saw some people applauding. I did see people applauding, but
thank you. Actually,
yes,
it's not 100% boo.
The boos,
right way to put it.
Yeah, the boos definitely outweighed the cheering, I will say.
Because again, we told on Thursday. I finally decided we're overthinking this. It's a game. They're the opponent. Boom tonight. Plenty of time to celebrate them. Blah blah blah. All that being said, this was my hell. This is what I was so worried about all freaking year, was what Calipari's done so often. Arkansas looked awful.
This is your hell. This is your team. You bleed blue.
They were 1-6 in the SEC. Their one win was a win against Georgia in a game they were trailing the whole basketball game. They looked awful all year. They walk into Rupp and hit 13 threes, which is such cruel irony because what we can complain about Cal for all these years.
Couldn't make threes.
Wouldn't even shoot threes.
Wouldn't even shoot them.
It was long mid-range twos. That's all we're going to shoot. And cruel irony, they hit 13, 4 from Big Z, I believe 3 from Wagner. Dew even threw one in. 52 points from the former 3 Kentucky players. They led the whole second half. It sucked. I don't know what else to say. Again, not because I hate John Calipari. Love it with all my heart for him. Again, by the way, he was classy as hell the whole weekend. He was awesome in true Cal fashion, but gosh, did that suck. Your ex coming in and doing that. Again, they had sucked all year. Kentucky just won at Tennessee. Shout out to Maury Williams. He was the only one that really brought it. He was amazing. But God, did that suck, Robby. I was just saying, man, like And again, I know it's not losing to Oakland. It's not getting upset in the tournament. It's not that feeling. It's such a weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
That's all I can really say. Gosh darn it.
So, Dusty, I know you were there in Lexington, but you were not inside Rep Arena. But I'll let you kind of explain how you went through it. But did Kentucky fans make this game bigger than what it really truly was? Was that the larger issue and the reason why they did lose this game, or was it just destiny? This was a Calipari special. This is the kind of games that his teams win.
Well, it's hard to say that when he loses to Oakland and St. Peter's, but
yeah.
I had a great weekend. So for those that don't know, my wife and I went down with my brother and our father. They went to the game. We looked at tickets, but they were, it was $200 a piece to sit, in the top corner of Rep Arena. So we're just like, no, we'll do our thing. So we hung out with one of my former teammates, Perry Stevenson, watched some of the game with him, and just watched it from the hotel bar. The other thing I want to chime in. So, okay, two things. One, fun weekend. The environment in Lexington was awesome. I don't think it was overstimulated, just in the sense where these fans just care so much, and it is your ex coming back, and it is your ex leaving you almost on, at the altar, right? And the hard part about that, though, is the Kentucky fans mostly want him gone too, so it's kind of a mutual breakup. But it's like, go coach at Oklahoma State, not Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
Or don't be Patino and go to Louisville when you come back from the Celtics. I think that's the hard part. Another thing, I guess we have to say, I lost my lock of the year.
I was going to wait till later to explain that, but yes.
Yes, so I lost my lock of the year. But I thought the environment was great. We were in the same hotel as the Arkansas team. So
you should pull the fire alarm. This is on us.
Yeah,
This is on us, Dusty.
we let Big Blue Nation down.
We did.
We could have had Haley hit on the guys and maybe distract them on Friday night. Like we missed our opportunity. But in terms of the game, Nick talks about the 13 threes. The thing that's mind-blowing about that is Arkansas averaged less than 6 made threes a game in SEC play coming into that game. So for them to all of a sudden, and you've heard Nick and I talk about it all the time, every road team just goes on fire in Rupp.
Yeah.
They'll never understand why. And they got 18-12, and that's when Cal called a timeout. And I thought after that point it was going to be this game is about to be blowout in a sense. Like, I don't know what Cal is saying to them in the huddle. You're trying to watch, on a TV screen. You don't really know if it's motivating or backs against the wall. But after that, Arkansas looked like a different team. So as much as he's had timeouts where I just feel like he's saying, scared money and don't make no money. Maybe that's what he said in that timeout. But there are plenty of them where it's just worthless crap. They look so much different. They're so motivated. Like Nick said, the 3 former Cats scored 51 points. Big Z, who during the offseason, Cal said shouldn't shoot threes, hit 4 threes. Like, are you kidding me? And so I would say good for those players. I was pretty mad afterwards. I was mad mainly at Cal because I'm like, okay, you got these guys up for this game. Where was this against Oakland, St. Peter's? Where was this in the SEC tournament the last 4 or 5 times where you admit you didn't even want to play in that tournament? So I'm happy for him. Like Nick said, he was classy as hell. I still love the man. I'm pissed at him for winning that game. And I feel bad for Pope too. That was a tough pill to swallow. But such a fun weekend in Lexington. Wish it was a better outcome, but it was the atmosphere is great, and I think Kentucky fans just need to get over and move on. Realize we have a solid team. We have a good team. They're probably a 3 seed right now. Nick and I were just looking today that they've beaten on Lenardi's bracket 2 of the 1 seeds. Was it 2 of the 2 seeds, Nick, and another 3 seed?
I think it was a 2 seed and a 3 seed.
2 seeds.
Florida's a 2, A&M's to 3.
And then what was the stat that you threw out this weekend about the record against?
Yeah, so just real quick. Yeah, Kentucky big picture. This kind of we talk about all year. Kentucky is sorry, whoever tweeted us out, I should have written down, but Kentucky is 6-1 versus ranked Power 5 teams. Great stat. However, they are 1-5 versus non-ranked Power 5 teams. It's just
wow.
been their conundrum all year. Again, big picture Kentucky. Another thing about Arkansas, they had not scored 75 points in an SEC game all year. They scored 89 in this one. Amari was awesome. They need Lamont Butler back. You could feel his presence not being there so badly. And Brea didn't play the whole second half. That was a weird coaching decision from Pope. And I think for Pope, I'm not that he's like I'm anti-Pope by any means. Pope is awesome. I love Pope. I think now the honeymoon phase is kind of over now.
Yeah.
Now you're going to start getting criticized and stuff by a lot more because he did get outcoached Saturday night, quite frankly. And that's was supposed to not be what's going to happen. So, again, it really sucked. But like Dusty said, it's still February 3rd, and they have a lot in front of them. But, gosh.
So for me.
Tough start to Black History Month for us.
Yes.
A tough start to Black History Month, yes. For me, I think I think not only did Kentucky players, but I think just we over-fixated on Cal's return to Kentucky and completely underrated the part of 3 of those Kentucky players that were on that team last year are back in the same building, and they want to prove to everyone in Kentucky.
They circled that game as quickly as all the fans did.
So DJ Wagner had his best game of the season. Big,
that's why he started over Reed and Robbie.
Right.
That's why.
Exactly. Big Z shot out of his behind, and then Adu Thiero was a monster everywhere. Those were the 3 guys that I think were the reason why Arkansas won that game. And Nelly Davis had one of his best games he's had all year. He hasn't looked like that all year.
That was so mean to me. That was so mean for him to show up. It
felt like we were so and I think this is what makes Cal also such a great coach is he's going to take all that energy, have all the focus on him, so all the focus is taken away from his players and his players can just go play the game. And as much flack as we give Calipari for how poor the team has been this year and how many terrible losses that they had in the past at Kentucky, he's still a great coach when it comes to embracing what the game calls for, and he's so good at the mind games of things. He may not be great about the X's and O's, but he's so good at understanding the moment and getting a team ready for those kinds of moments for that kind of a game in the regular season. Maybe not in the postseason, as evidenced from the last couple of years at Kentucky, but it going into that, everyone was, you could tell how much of the energy and focus was squarely on John Calipari. Nobody talked anything about DJ Wagner or Adu Thiero or Big Z coming back to Lexington, and you could tell. And those guys played their best games of the season, arguably maybe their best games of their career. DJ Wagner was awesome. He was legitimately fantastic, and that's the difference. So, now Kentucky has some soul searching to do because this is a bad loss. Be frank, this is a bad loss. I mean, Arkansas, ranked out of the top? What are they in the net right now? Like 70 or something like that?
That's a great. They had gotten to the 70s for sure. Let's see what we can find here.
So they're up to 47 now in the net. So
sure that win helps.
That's a little higher than what I was thinking. So, but Arkansas Arkansas's only 2-7 in the quad 1 games. Like that's it. Their only other quad 1 win was, I believe, Michigan, yeah. And they have a home win against Georgia. So I mean, can Arkansas make the tournament? Maybe if they continue to play this well. I don't think they're going to continue to play this well, but it was very surprising at how poor Kentucky looked, especially after the first 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes of that game, that was one of the most enjoyable 5 minutes of college basketball that I think I've watched all year. It was like between the shot making.
It was electric.
Yeah, between the shot making, the environment, all the other elements within it, it was great. So, yeah, now you kind of wonder, what's the next step for Kentucky and can they get past it? So, it's crazy how that kind of all went about. Before we jump into Purdue IU, we are going to talk about that. I would be remiss if I didn't at least we missed the biggest story of the weekend. And even though it's not college basketball related, we still need to at least get a thought. When I woke up at 7:30 on Saturday morning, And I did not stay up to hear the news about Luka Doncic getting traded. I could not, like, I was like, this can't be real. And I think we all thought the same thing. Can you put into words, either of you, can you put into words, have you ever been this stunned in regards to some kind of news regarding a transaction ever in the history of sports?
First off, it was Sunday morning, right?
Or was it Sunday morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it's past midnight or not.
All the days.
No, I was like, did I completely just mess my entire weekend?
All the days have blended together. Sorry, I've been sick for 5 days.
Robby, I think I can put this in perspective. Like, again, I just talked about how soul crushing that loss was to Arkansas. I immediately forgot about it and was completely fixated on this.
Yeah.
This is the most shocking transaction I think safely in all NBA history. I would say, I think arguing maybe all sports. When you just take the fact he is Luka Doncic, 25 years old, took him to the NBA Finals last year. By all counts, loves Dallas. But the real
just bought a house there.
Yep.
Just bought a house there. In the fact, like, it's one thing to trade Luka Doncic is crazy by itself, right? It's that they did not start a full-out bidding war for him is one of the most, I would say, malpractice things I've ever seen in all of, just sports. I could not believe this trade. I called everyone I knew. It was so late. I had to talk to someone.
So Nick and I were so my wife and I were in one hotel room. My dad and Nick were in another room. I woke up to 5 missed calls from Nick at like 1:15.
That would freak me out if that happened.
I was afraid something happened. He's like, you talk to someone.
I was so convinced you're awake. I was like, he has to be awake. I just saw him. Shout Nahan. He was the only one to answer. We talked about half hour. We had a great conspiracy theory talk. Yeah, this was the most shocking thing. This blew my mind. It still blows my mind till right now, Robby.
This would be like, so if we were going back to last year, this would be like, if we're talking in college basketball terms, this would be if Purdue decided to trade Zach Edey to UCLA for, at the time, Tiger Campbell maybe, who was on the team or something like that.
That's a great throwback.
It makes no sense. And man, what it must be like to be a Laker fan, to have constant relevance. You go from, Shaq and Kobe in the early 2000s, then Kobe, makes his way out, then LeBron comes in. Now you're going to have Luka Doncic for as long as you want him. It's insane. And what's even funnier is, there's another NBA trade that comes out. De'Aaron Fox gets traded. The Kings got more out of De'Aaron Fox than the Mavericks got out of Luka Doncic.
Mikal Bridges got traded for 5 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges, I know Anthony Davis, you can knock off some picks, but still, it's 25-year-old Luka Doncic. That could be a whole team's roster in picks for Luka Doncic. It's insane. I
saw a funny tweet. It was...
Nick and I have seen so many funny tweets that we can't say.
Yeah. So there was like Mavs GM. We want to ask if Anthony Davis is available. Lakers GM. He's not available. Mavs GM. What if you want Luka Doncic? Lakers GM. AD's on the way.
He'll be there first thing tomorrow.
Yeah. So we should have started the pod with that because, again, that was the biggest, not only just the biggest basketball news, that was the biggest news on the planet for that night and that moment. I mean, it paused everything in sports, and I can't remember a bigger transaction trade in the history of not just the NBA but sports in general. Like that's
totally agree.
I mean, the only other bigger trade I can really remember, and I wasn't alive for this, was when the Cowboys traded Herschel Walker and got all those trades when Jimmy Johnson was there. Like, that's the only other, like, massive, significant trade of a superstar that I can fully remember. Dusty?
I have a vote. Babe Ruth.
I mean, that's a big one, too, yeah.
But, again, in that your scenario, Herschel Walker, they got the Kings ransom for him.
Yeah.
That's what they should go for.
Yeah.
You could throw Wayne Gretzky's trade in there, too, if you wanted to.
There's Gretzky won Stanley Cups for them. Luka didn't even get a chance to win championships for them. If I was a Mavs fan, I don't know what I would do. I really don't.
It looks like Disney wants some input.
Yeah, Disney, can you let us know what's going on here?
But there's a clip today, Robby, that apparently, and Nick, I sent to Nick and Jake that apparently the Mavs at first were asking for, what was it, like Dalton Connect and like 3 first-round picks, and Pelinka essentially
How did
What's the right word?
he talked his way into this, I guess?
Yes.
It was Connect. It was this trade they have right now plus Connect and more picks. But somehow Palinka convinced him he's like
Palinka's
an alcoholic or something, and now the price went down.
How in the world do you get out of? You don't get Dalton Connect out of that trade, and you only get 1 first-round pick.
Or Austin Reeves. It's Luka Doncic.
Or Austin Reeves. You got a 31-year-old aging superstar that can't stay healthy.
Yeah, they talk about Luka's health and conditioning. Hey, I love Anthony Davis. He's one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah.
You talk about who struggles with injuries himself.
So now they're going to have, well, if Derek Lively comes back, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, who they have another big guy too. Daniel Gafford.
Gafford, yeah.
Like what is this? The 1980s NBA? You're like trying to build a house at the front line? I mean, what are we doing?
Kelvin Sampson and Hakeem?
Yeah.
It's literally just Kyrie, Clay, and big men. It's a hell of a roster.
I said Kelvin Sampson, obviously.
Funny little play on words there.
Sampson, sorry.
Anyway, still crazy. And what's even so that was the big news in basketball. Just an hour ago, I don't know if you guys saw this news, but before I get to Purdue IU, I got to mention this. Leonard Hamilton is resigning.
Yep, saw that.
So Leonard Hamilton has been
after the season.
Correct. After the season, Leonard Hamilton resigning from his post at Florida State. He's been there forever. I mean, what is going on with the ACC? This is now the third coach in the last 6 months that is leaving his post. You had started with Tony Bennett at Virginia, Jim Larinaga at Miami, now Leonard Hamilton. Now, Leonard Hamilton also has some other things that have popped up on the radar with paying for NIL and other things like that. But Florida State, as a program, has been trending downward the last few years. But regardless, I mean, this is massive news for a program that was pretty steady there at late 2010s.
Yeah, you're right. And I think 2019 they make, or 2018 they make the Elite Eight.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
2020, the year the tournament got canceled, they won the regular season ACC, and basically since then it's just been, I guess 2021 they were fine, but basically since 2021 they've been going the complete wrong direction. Rob, you mentioned the ACC. Again, you mentioned those 3 coaches, but since 2017, this is off the top of my head, Rick Pitino, Coach K, Roy Williams, Bray at Notre Dame, Jim Boeheim, Buzz Williams left Virginia Tech. The exodus of ACC coaches in the last 6-7 years is just insane, Robbie.
You got to start to wonder because I can't remember if it was. Is it the current commissioner of who's the current commissioner of the SEC? He's not coming to my mind. Not Mike Slive, obviously.
That's so bad. That's what the heck? He's been there
Greg
for a
Sankey.
while now.
So Greg Sankey made a push to get the universities in the Southeastern Conference to get big name head coaches. Look what it's done to the conference as a whole. It was barely getting 3 teams into the tournament. Now it's going to get 12 to 13 this year. I am wondering if the ACC needs to start doing something, like the commissioner needs to start, slipping some, notes underneath the table to be like, hey guys, we probably need to figure things out and how to become relevant again, because the ACC as a whole, not just a basketball conference, but just a sports conference as a whole sucks. It's not a good conference right now. Football outside of Clemson has been really disappointing. Basketball outside of Duke and somewhat of North Carolina has been massively disappointing over the last 5-10 years. The ACC's got to do something to change things up because it's trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it should be noted, SMU came in, and they've been a top 4 team in both football and basketball. And it's like SMU has been some dominant sports program in the last, 40 years? And they just came right in. So
crazy.
Yeah, it's weird seeing ACC basketball in this, about, year 5-6 of this just weird spots in. But you know what's weird? They always have a team or two that makes a run in the tournament, though.
Yeah, NC State last year.
NC State, Syracuse always made a run to the 16. UNC is an 8 seed, made the national championship 3 years ago. This is just weird how they keep doing that as well.
Very, very odd. So, okay, we had to mention the Luka stuff. We had to mention the Leonard Hamilton stuff, but now we got to get to Purdue IU.
Here you go, Robbie. Now's your time.
Now it's my time. First off, I think many people have asked me, are you surprised at the result? I'm not necessarily surprised that it was a close game. Maybe surprised that Purdue needed a Trey Kaufman-run basket with 30 seconds to go to win the game. That was a little bit more surprising. I was not surprised that IU played well. I think Trey Galloway, I think Luke Goody, those are Indiana kids that want to play well against Purdue in a Purdue-IU rivalry. That makes sense. I was more surprised at how invested at the time, before he fouled out, how well Umar Ballo played. I was very surprised at that. I was very surprised at how poor Miles Rice played. This was such an odd, weird game. Purdue struggles to shoot from three. You got good defensive efforts overall from the Boilermakers, but, Trey Galloway was just carving them up on that midline pick and roll. And for as much crap as Mike Woodson gets for his out-of-bounds plays or not running sets, this is what IU does when they play Purdue, and Purdue always struggles with playing against teams that just consistently pick and roll you to death. That's how Jalen Hood-Schifino went off on Purdue 2 years ago, and they were able to win both games in the rivalry that year. It's how Trey Galloway has kind of made his name in this rivalry, that he's been so effective. So when Purdue got up 7 in the second half, that's when I kind of thought, okay, now they're going to start to run away with this, and they're going to win by 10, 15 points. But then Trey Kaufman-Renn picked up those 2 ticky-tack fouls on those illegal screens and then got to 4 fouls, which, again, college basketball officiating, you will never change. They were very iffy calls. But overall, I think IU, if you're an IU fan, you got what you wanted. You want Mike Woodson out, so I think this is the first step in that direction. But also, I think Purdue kind of showed again, they're still vulnerable. And constantly people continue to say, they don't believe in Purdue because they are a matchup-dependent team. If they face a team like a Marquette, like a Texas A&M, someone that gets in your face, guards you, turns up the heat a little bit defensively, those are the teams that really shake down Purdue, and that's where the Boilermakers struggle. Yes, but that happens to every team that plays those teams. Auburn is beating everyone. That's why Auburn beat Purdue by 20. It's almost as if we have become all of the Field of 68 or Sleepers or whoever else that does college basketball coverage. We all want to jump to, well, there's no Zach Edey, so these guys must not be very good. Get your head out of your ass and realize that Purdue has one of the best players in the country, and they're pretty damn good. They're a top 10 team. Now, are they Final Four good? Maybe not this year. I think they could make a run and get close. But I think it's almost as if people just don't want to admit the fact that this Purdue team is really good. They've got really good players, one of the best coaches in the country, and they don't need a 7'4" player to do it. I'll even, throw Mark Titus under the bus. He was saying before the season that, Zach Edey's not here anymore, so the Braden Smith won't be a merchant because Zach Edey's not around anymore. Well, look what's happened. Dude's the best point guard in the country. So it's almost, we have gotten to this point with Purdue, and it's fine. Keep doubting them. It's fine. Because the more doubt that you have on this team, the more they continue to prove people wrong. And continue to keep it rolling, guys. Keep playing the hits. Put DJ, keep the doubting the Purdue hits, because it's at this point it's hilarious.
Boiler up.
I wasn't expecting to go on a bit of a rant, but I'm just getting tired of. If you want to keep hating, that's fine. But Illinois fans, Michigan State fans, Michigan fans, all the last 3 years is, well, he's just tall. You won't win if you have a 7'4" player. Well, look what's happening now. You're getting carved up by a leprechaun. So must suck.
It should be noted, Robby, you're 7th in the AP poll, so it seems like people are respecting you.
But they're doing it just based on the fact that everyone else is losing around them. I guess we have to move Purdue up. Now, I had them 9th in my poll, okay? I think they are a top 10 team. Yes, if they run into a bad matchup, they are going to have a tough time. So is every other team in college basketball not named Auburn and Duke. Like, that's one of the dumbest arguments in all of sports. They're matchup dependent. Of course, every team is. If you don't have a 7-footer guarding the rim, of course you're going to get carved up by teams that are bigger. That's why Umar Ballo had 18 and 10. Like, just all this narrative around Purdue is just exhausting. Like, everyone wants to come up with some new storyline of why they aren't good. This program is here to freaking stay, and you got to deal with it. Sorry.
I thought Nick and I were going to be the pissed off ones on this.
Yeah, who lost this weekend? Who lost their rival this weekend?
I got into listening to all these other. It was a good win. I got to listen to all these other college basketball podcasts like Field of 68 and Jeff Goodman saying, "Now they're matchup dependent." What time are we at? Okay. Like it's I'm tired of it. It's bullshit.
Yes, Robby.
Enough's enough. Start giving credit to the fact that this Purdue team is pretty damn good, and it doesn't matter if they have a 7-footer in there or not, because they are a program. I think it's almost we're trying to change with the times of college basketball. Is you have to go out and buy these players, and you have to buy your teams. I'll say it again. Because Purdue is doing it without having to do that. They're going out and getting players that are made for this program and made for this team, and they continue to win. So it must suck to not be a Purdue basketball fan because you have to constantly find reasons why you don't like this team and this program. Okay, that's enough. I will get off of my soapbox. I'm just tired of hearing all the nonsense from national media pundits and people wanting to constantly drag this team or Painter or Braden Smith or Fletcher Lawyer's too thin and just nobody else, no other team that has never won a national championship is going to run through this. But somehow people just want to keep hating on Purdue, I guess. Must be fun.
Can I shout out Miles Rice real quick for 0 points, but saying screw it, I'm taking the game-winning shot, boys, when it matters most. He was not fouled.
By the way, he was not fouled. Jakari Harris barely. He didn't even. He was so out.
It was kind of out of control. It was a tough shot. Like no one's gonna give you that, even if he was.
He tried to sell a foul call, and it was poorly tried to be sold. So, anyway, again, I will credit IU. I thought they played well. And Purdue. All the Purdue fans that are saying, well, we didn't play well, and that's why you guys played well. No, Purdue played okay. IU just played really well, had a good game plan, was ready to play. It's Purdue IU. I say it people don't want to understand. I mean, it is the biggest cliche in all sports. In a rivalry game, you throw the records out the window. You absolutely do it in this situation. It's kind of like with Arkansas and Kentucky. You should have thrown the records out the window because those guys wanted to win that game more. Duke, yeah. Well, not really like no. But anyway, Purdue's playing like a top 10 team. Now, it would be very Purdue of them to go to Iowa tomorrow night and lose, but they typically play pretty well at Carver Hawkeye. So we'll kind of see where that goes. We've basically spent the first 30 minutes talking about Kentucky, Purdue, and that's it. So
and Luka.
So again, play the hits, DJ. That's what we're good at. All right, let's move on. Let's recap one game that you want to focus on from this weekend. Nick, I want to start with you because UConn Marquette did not make sense to me.
No, so again, as we mentioned, I was in Lexington, so I actually watched not the full game, like the extended highlights of this game yesterday, and what an effort from UConn. For no one who saw it, UConn won 77-69 at Marquette and led wire to wire.
Yeah.
They're led by 22 points at one point. Story of the game was my boy Solomon Ball, #solo ball.
Could not miss.
Yes. 25 points, 11 rebounds. Still no Liam McNeely. They win this game at Marquette. Here's some stats that point out. 3 stats, 2 are good, 1 bad for UConn. Out-assisted Marquette 16-5. 5 assists for Marquette the whole game.
Wow.
They were 12 of 19 from 3 was UConn in this basketball game. And then how about this? UConn had 21 turnovers to Marquette's 8 and still won this game wire to wire.
You're shortchanging them before. They had 25 turnovers.
20. Thank you, Robby.
I just saw that. I just pulled a box score. 25 turnovers, and they still won?
25 turnovers. Thank you. I guess I shortchanged that. And still again, 1 wire to wire. And now UConn, all of a sudden, their next 2 games are home St. John's and at Creighton. So, again, see they keep it going after that. And it's interesting for Marquette on the other side of this. Their next 2 games are also somehow St. John's and Creighton. I'm not really sure how that works. schedule-wise. But, yeah, Marquette, they're now 1-2 in the last 3 home games. And so I was looking at Cam Jones. He shot poorly from 3. So I asked myself, like, I swear Cam Jones not hit a shot in a while. So I did homework on the show for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So this, in the last 11 basketball games, Cam Jones, again, he's not like a dead eye, but he's been a solid 3-point shooter.
Good shooter, yeah.
17 of 67 from 3 in his last 11 games. That is a swift 25%.
Yuck.
And if you take away his best game against Seton Hall, he is 13 of 61 from 3 in those games. A swift 21% from 3. So if he's going to continue to shoot like this, like, I don't know how, I mean, Marquette's probably still fine in the short term, but long term, that's got to be fixed. But yeah, good win, UConn. They had looked sluggish in prior games, so big win for them to win in Giannis's arena.
Throw in the fact that Solo Ball also had 11 rebounds. Like,
yeah, I said that.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't remember if you did or not. My apologies. But yeah,
I think I did, Robby. I think I did.
Is Marquette good? Like, are they good?
I don't know.
They looked so unprepared. They ran no sets offensively. They just continued to try to beat UConn off the dribble, which that's playing right into their hands if you try to keep doing that, because they have guys that are going to keep you in front of them. I was like scratching my head, like, what are we doing here, Marquette? Like, we're just going to continue to try to drive right at this team? We're going to chuck up a bunch of threes, even though we're not a very good 3-point shooting team? Like, first off, Marquette, I hope the next day you guys were just shooting free throws the entire time. They stunk at the free throw line, 12 for 22. That was embarrassing. 17 offensive rebounds, though. You force 25 turnovers, you get 17 offensive rebounds, and you lose at home. Wow.
They had 8 defensive rebounds in this game, which seems like it has to be one of the lowest numbers of the year, right?
Oh, I just saw that. Whoa. Oh, my gosh. I mean, I know UConn was hot, but geez. That's crazy.
Yeah, so UConn, maybe they're back all of a sudden.
I didn't understand this whole Marquette just let Cam Jones or David Joplin or Chase Ross or Stevie Mitchell they tried to go downhill all game. That's why they only had 5 assists. And when Purdue played them, they did not play that way. They were moving the ball around the floor, drive and kick, or using pick and roll to get and then get Ben Gold out to shoot threes. This does not look like the Marquette team that I saw back in November and December. They look poor.
Yeah, it's been basically the whole month of January they look poor too. So it's just been this trend for a while now.
Yeah. So
Cam Jones hit a 3, damn it. Get in the gym. Get on the gun.
Please. Get on the gun. Dusty, your game to recap from the past weekend.
Well, first of all, my input on the UConn Marquette game is just that Hurley's brother's just as big as a douchebag as he is.
Yeah, that's a topic for another part.
Oh, that'd be a funny. Yeah. That game will be in the funnies.
Good. I'm glad.
Good. Okay. So we'll touch that later. So I'm not going to recap this game, but I just want to bring up the St. Mary's being Gonzaga Saturday night.
Wow.
In which they really controlled the whole game. I'm more focused on, and I know Gonzaga is another topic we're going to touch on, so I won't break that one either. But the West Coast Conference in general. San Francisco's in second now over Gonzaga by half a game. And Gonzaga still plays them twice. They play Santa Clara again. They play St. Mary's again. They play at Washington State. So we'll talk about them later. But just for them, I know there's a late game Saturday night. Was that the game where they broke it on ESPN, the Doncic trade? Like live, I think it was.
Yeah, St. Mary's. Yeah, they broke in for the Doncic trade. Yeah.
The announcer's like, "What?"
It was Fanta. He's like, "What?"
Yeah,
it was great.
So I think St. Mary's for the first time seems like they're kind of dominating that conference. And I mean, I know they only won by 4, but I had it on, but can't say I was sitting there taking notes. But they, I think they kind of have Gonzaga's. I think they've won 3 of the last 5. I did not look that up. I believe so. But the West Coast Conference is just going to be interesting. Can it be a 2-bid league? And the biggest thing for Gonzaga is going to be how bad the bubble is, like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
So that was the game that I thought stood out to me. And there's so much stuff that went on that day, obviously. But I thought that was an interesting one to just kind of touch on.
Well, now St. Mary's has a 3-game lead on Gonzaga.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, it's February, so where St. Mary's going to lose 3 times? It's hard to find that because, again, they have the longest road winning streak in the country right now. We will continue to go back to St. Mary's not being a very good team in the tournament because of their pace of play. but their pace of play really fits well for playing in the West Coast Conference. So I was shocked at how bad. Like, Gonzaga just doesn't look great right now. But also, like, they just blew Oregon State out, which was my lock. Like, I thought for sure Oregon State would cover 16.5, but Gonzaga beats them by 30. I mean, if it wasn't for Graham Ike, Gonzaga would have lost that game by double digits. So, I mean, man, just disappointed in Gonzaga, yeah.
And they're running out quad one opportunities now. I think they only have 2 before the WCC, and
they'll still make the tournament, I feel like. But yeah, it's not.
I think they are, but again, they can't afford any more slip ups,
right?
At all. And also, St. Mary's. Did I see they went on a 30-0 run earlier this week in the game?
What?
I did
think
not.
It was Santa Clara, they're playing on the road. Yeah, 30-0 run. They went full UConn from last year.
I was going to say, that's not a kill shot. That's the UConn shot. That's 30-0 when Illinois.
Okay, next subject. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Did you guys watch Texas Tech Houston?
I saw the highlights. I saw Grant McCaskey almost try and fight someone.
Which was great. I mean, Grant. We are a Grant McCaskey pod from here on out.
Oh, yeah.
Or Grant McCaslin, I should say. First off, he had a point because, like, that's JT Toppin is not the kind of player that's going to do that. But
I kept watching that play over. I'll let you take it, Robbie. I kept watching that play over, and so tell the story.
Yeah, so JT, I believe he was going up to pass it, if I'm not mistaken, and then he brought up his right leg and accidentally kicked one of the Houston players, got called for an F2, and got kicked out of the game. And in the moment, he's just kind of flailing and moving around his legs. He's not trying to kick someone. Like, this isn't Draymond Green here, all right? And the problem is, by the letter of the law, yes, I understand why they did kick him out. But you have to have some discretion for intent. JT Toppin's not trying to go out there and kick someone. So in that moment, you have to understand kind of the situation and what all is transpiring. It's kind of like when Anthony Leal got called for the offensive foul against Purdue, that should have been a hook and hold, and they didn't call the hook and hold, which I agreed with, because that would have completely changed the game, giving Purdue 2 free throws and the ball, and you let the game you let the players decide the game. The officials in that moment needed to understand that's not what was actually occurring. JT Toppin wasn't trying to kick someone in the gonads. Just like understand the moment, and they didn't. And I understand why Grant McCaslin lost his mind. I would have done the same exact thing. But this is overshadowing the fact that Texas Tech that's arguably the best win in college basketball this year. Houston at home is darn near unbeatable lately. And darn near, like, they have one of the best home records in all of college basketball the last 5 years. And you go in there without one of your best players who just got kicked out, and you find a way to win. Like, that is exceptional. And that's why I had Texas Tech inside of my top 5. I know that that's a big jump up from where they were at 22, and their profile may not say top 10, top 5 team, but if you're going to go on the road and win at Houston, you're a pretty dang good team, and they showed it that at Houston. And I don't know what the Cougars were doing in that final second possession, letting Juwan Roberts basically chuck up a shot and pick up a travel. I still like Houston. This doesn't change my mind on them, but this definitely opens my eyes to Texas Tech being a team that we need to keep an eye on, because Chance McMillan was fantastic. Elijah Hawkins, that's a Minnesota transfer. He was great. Don't forget about Federico. That's a 7-footer that can guard the rim. Like, Texas Tech has some good pieces, and they won it without arguably one of their best players.
Yeah, like you said, Robbie, this is one of the best wins of the year. Especially in Houston's now had this weird year. They have 4 losses, 3 in overtime, and one's to Auburn by 5 after horseplay, which that was win that. No one could have won that game.
No one.
So I guess Houston's a couple bounces away from being almost undefeated, but like you said, Robbie, what a win for Texas Tech without JT Toppin.
Massive.
And now they're 17-4 in the Big 12. With Iowa State the way they're playing, the way Kansas is playing, who knows? Maybe Texas Tech all of a sudden might be up there with everyone else then.
I mean, that's why I voted them 5th. Like, I had the toughest time after 1, 2, and 3 in my poll trying to figure out who was 4th. Like, I think what's funny is Tennessee went up 4 spots after losing at home to Kentucky and, boat racing Florida in the AP poll. That didn't make any sense to me. You can move Purdue up. That's fine. Iowa State, you got to drop back. I understand. But Like, it was almost as if I think the AP poll voters were like, well, I guess it's got to be Tennessee because they've been there. Kentucky ran them off the floor. Like that. Like, I don't understand that.
Well, see, it's tough because, like, to me, I have Texas Tech like 13th. Like, I get what they did. So, like, I don't know. I try to look at AP poll, like, the whole year.
Right.
And, like, Texas Tech beat no one in non-conference. So it's like this tough game you have to play, right? Same thing as Tennessee, right? Their overall is good because I had them 4th. But I'm with you. It's so tough doing that when they just lost at home to a team who was down 2 starters.
Right.
You know, so it's like this whole game, like, how much do you weigh the full body of work versus what just happened, right? So it is such a tough game to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree Auburn, Duke, Alabama. That's 1, 2, and 3. After that, it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, I know you guys had Purdue at 4. I had Purdue at 9. I still think Purdue's a top 10 team. The AP poll has Tennessee at 4. Houston, they moved Houston up to 5, which is funny. Florida at 6. They moved Purdue up to 7. Iowa State dropped to 8. Michigan State dropped to 9. Texas A&M up to 10. I dropped Marquette farther, but the AP poll has Marquette at 11. The biggest riser was Texas Tech, up from 22 to 13. Maryland's now up to 18. Any other things that stood out from the AP poll or your guys' poll that you wanted to mention? Shocked that, and this is just negligence, in my opinion, negligence on the AP voters. New Mexico is not within even the top 5 of teams receiving votes to get into the AP poll. New Mexico is a top 25 team. They just went on the road and won in one of the toughest environments in all college basketball, and they can't even get in the top 5 in receiving votes. That's negligence. Those of you voting in the AP poll, shame on all of you for not putting New Mexico in the top 25. That is a top 25 team. Ole Miss should not be in the top 25. They keep losing. You take them out. Michigan shouldn't be in the top 25, in my opinion. Like, put teams in there that deserve it, that have earned the right to be there.
I would say Illinois.
Illinois could be it. They got 7 losses. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, St. Mary's isn't in, and they have not lost in a month, or not months, I guess I should say.
How the heck does St. Mary's not get in the AP top 25? They just beat What are we doing here, guys?
Like, well, now at least the coaches poll didn't rank Mississippi State, so we have some smart coaches in the country.
Oh, gosh. I mean, Missouri just absolutely destroyed Mississippi State. That was impressive. And what was funny is, and I forgot to mention this, Nick, you mentioned how every visiting team comes to Rupp and just the rim is as big as the ocean. Well, there's a thing going around with Mississippi State fans where they're trying to pick out the player that never scores, that goes off against them. And it was Caleb Grill on Saturday who had 20 points. He's only averaging 8, or he's averaging 13, but he comes off the bench. So it's funny to see, it's become a new thing now with Mississippi State fans to try to find that guy that's going to go off. Because it was Chris Youngblood for Alabama. He hadn't had over 20 all year, and he goes off for him. So it's fun to see that.
You can argue Almanor for Kentucky did against Mississippi State.
Yep. So yeah. It's definitely got State fans down. I think State's still a top 25 team. That's why I still had them in pretty high up on my polls. Maryland definitely deserves to be in there. That's a team that absolutely should be ranked in the top 25. I was kind of surprised that Wisconsin, I know they lost to UCLA. I know they lost at Maryland, but why are they dropping 4 spots? I don't know. It didn't make sense in the AP polls. By the way, you can check out our polls, D1 and Done Pod, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's where you'll find those there. Other stories of note from the weekend. We didn't get a chance to mention Auburn, Ole Miss either, but the Tigers continue to win. We didn't get a chance to mention at all. Iowa State looks rough. Iowa State's it feels like they're trending in the Tennessee direction where, what's happened to the offense? Kansas State goes in there and wins by basically 20. So my Kansas State Wildcats starting to put it together. Tennessee rebounded the big way, beating Florida. Michigan State, welcome to the Big Ten. It sucks playing out west. You learned it quick playing at USC. We talked about UConn. Kansas blows another big lead. Maybe Baylor's back. Missouri looked incredible. Louisville, yikes. Awful loss at Georgia Tech. Vanderbilt, welcome to the party. Now this is who you are, I guess. Oregon doesn't look good. Arizona has some bad blood with Arizona State as Bobby Hurley pulls his players off the floor. We had a fight in the Atlantic 10 with St. Louis and VCU. Green Bay still can't win. Colgate sucks. The Missouri Valley is awesome. Bryant's still perfect in the America East. Nick, your Bearcats are in a world of trouble.
They suck. They are not in trouble. They are pathetic.
There's so many different ways. I mean, what stood out from this past weekend as a whole that we haven't really gone in further?
Kansas is to me the other big one.
Yeah.
I know it's not like a low key one, but again, they're up 19.5. They've done it again. They found another way to blow a game, and now Kansas Iowa State tonight, Robbie. Kansas lost 2 of 3. Iowa State's lost 2 in a row. The loser is now kind of in a free fall all of a sudden, Robbie. Yeah, and like you already mentioned, Cincinnati is just bad at basketball, and Wes Miller is probably not going to be the coach there next year. So tougher. They're not going to finish top 4 in the Big 12. Lock that in.
Yeah, your 2 locks of the year now. Cincinnati finishing the top 4 and Kentucky beating Arkansas. Not great. While mine, Braden Smith, first team All-American. Not too bad. Yeah, I know. It's fine. You can. All right, I want to get into a little buy or sell. I want to give you a handful of teams. Are you buying or selling them for March? Not where they are right now, but when we get to March Madness, are you buying or selling them in the tournament? I want to start with you guys in your national champions, your Gonzaga Bulldogs. Are you still buying Gonzaga or are you selling Gonzaga now?
Sell, man. They've not played good basketball in so long now, and there's no consistency whatsoever. It's February 3rd, and to me, they've shown absolutely nothing to make me.
Dusty?
Sell. Put them in a garage sale at this point. Don't even try to give them on clearance or anything. Just get rid of them.
Get rid of them all the way.
Yeah. Can I amend my national champion pick? Because the bubble's so bad, Gonzaga's probably going to make it, but they are not playing like a tournament team whatsoever.
Not at all. Tennessee, buy or sell?
Come on. Rick Barnes, Tennessee, they can't score, sell.
Wow. Easy enough. Okay. I mean, yeah, this feels like the quintessential Tennessee team, so I think I'd kind of be in the same boat. Okay, so Iowa State, Dusty, are you buying or selling Iowa State without Momcilovic, with where they are right now?
I'm still buying. I guess the only thing that I'm not sure about is the Big 12. I don't think is that great of a conference, so the competition level may be different. I could see them being a team that plops as like do they fall more to a – because were they probably still a 2 seed, maybe 3 seed right now?
I think they're still a 2 seed, yeah.
Still 2 seed. Hell, they could be the 15-2 upset this year.
Ooh.
So I would still buy them overall. I like the continuity of the team, but you can tell I'm not overly confident.
Yes, I can tell.
I don't want to sell everyone there because I'm with Nick. I'm selling Tennessee. They can't score, but yeah, I would still buy Iowa State.
Well, here's another team that's been struggling to score. Nick, are you buying Marquette for March? Or are we out on them now?
I got burned so badly by them last year. This feels like another Shaka Smart team, which almost makes me more confident that like they are struggling. Maybe now this is the team that actually breaks through that no one but sell until
I would sell Marquette too. How about
Iowa State, by the way? Shout Baby Bash. I still believe in the Cyclones.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Are we buyers in Missouri now? I don't know if we want to admit it, but I mean they're rolling. They're good.
I mean, that was like you said, that was a hell of a one they had.
Yeah.
Current hold on Missouri.
Hold.
Yeah, hold at the moment. We'll check the market in 3 days.
They're such a wacky, wild team. They are. I mean, they were basically put together with NIL. You got Mark Mitchell. You brought in Tamar Bates, Tony Perkins as well. Those are all, mercenaries that are coming in. You also, I mean, they're such a, I mean, Josh Gray's on his 3rd SEC team in 4 years. Like, they are such a wacky team, but it's somehow working. And I got to be honest. I mean, there's going to be a lot of awards thrown out there. Dennis Gates, head coach of Missouri, he's got to be in the running for coach of the year in college basketball. Like that was a team that did not win in the SEC last year. They had 0 SEC wins last year. Crazy. Incredible. Are we buying Louisville? I know they lost to Georgia Tech, but do we like them? Do we buy them for the tournament in March?
I buy them as a tournament team and a good story of kind of revamping that school in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think they're a first weekend out, if I had to guess. But good for them to turn that thing around. As much as I dislike Louisville,
sure.
So buy them as getting the program back together, but not buying a deep run.
Nick, are you buying Memphis now? Do we need to buy Memphis? They've been kind of cutting it close lately.
Yeah, they have.
I know this is stupid to say. I'm buying. I like the person.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm buying penny stocks. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, penny stocks.
Yeah, I'm buying penny
Jordan
stocks.
Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, penny stocks.
I'm not freaking leaving. Yeah.
I got Aerodyne Engineering.
Oh.
Was that a good impression?
Okay.
That was pretty good. Nick, well, while we're on you, we need to pop some bubbles here. Let's talk some bubble watch here, okay? So I want to know some teams that are kind of sitting on the bubble right now. Give me some bracket matrix. Start with IU. IU's probably out of the tournament. Can they find a way to work their way into the tournament?
Yeah, so according to bracket matrix, here are the first teams out. By the way, this is going to Saturday. This is the worst part about bracket matrix. It takes a while from the update a little bit, but going into Saturday, it went Arizona State, BYU, Wake Forest, Nebraska, SMU, Xavier, then the Indiana Hoosiers. So they're 7th team out right now, which again,
they needed that. They needed that win at Purdue. They needed that bad.
Yeah, because the good and bad news is they have more tough teams coming up, so they can just steal one of them. But like you said, Robby, it played so well. That may have been their best opportunity. And by the way, Stanford's the other team behind them, so the Cardinal making a late push. But the other team,
Stanford, gosh.
And then how was the last 5 teams coming in to Saturday were Pittsburgh, the Texas Longhorns, who got the win at LSU, also played California.
Texas is playing well lately. Look out.
I'm smirking, Rob, because the third to last team in, according to this, New Mexico, your Lobos are on the
Show some respect to the Mountain West, people. Come on.
They hate the Mountain West. We hate to see we're a Mountain West pod again, right?
We've always been a Mountain West pod. The fact that they came out, by the way, with the Bob Cousy Award watch list, came out with their top 10 nominees, and Donovan Dent was not on there. He's one of the best point guards in the country right now. He's averaging 19 points and 7 assists a game, and he's not one of the top 10 point guards in the country. He had 34 against UNLV. How are you keeping him out of the top 10 best point guards in the country? That's crazy.
Well, because you know who's one of the 10 best point guards in the country, Robbie, is second last team in is North Carolina and R.J. Davis. We're going to Saturday. They are trending in the wrong direction.
I need to pull this list up.
Then finally,
hold on.
Last team in.
R.J. Davis was on that list? No, he's
no
not.
idea.
Okay, I was about to say. Hold on. Let me.
The-
Well, Ryan Nemhard's on the list. Okay, so Smith is one of 3. Okay, Ace Baldwin and Dylan Harper are on there. Get out of here. No way. Mark Sears, okay, fine. Walter Clayton, okay. Ryan Nemhard has been good. Keyshawn Gilbert's been very good. So is Cam Jones, Zakai Ziegler, Javon Small from West Virginia. Ace Baldwin and Dylan Harper should not be on that list. No way.
Whoa, we're an ace pod, Robbie.
Well, Ace Bailey, not Ace Baldwin.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dylan Harper hasn't played in 2 weeks. What are we doing?
Discrimination towards the Mountain West. Hate to see it, Robbie.
Unreal.
But yeah, that's the bracket matrix now. I'll give more bubble analysis on it. This week was mostly I was focusing on my heartbreak on Saturday night. But yeah, those teams right now, I assume North Carolina's on the outside looking in, which would be, by the way, the second best tournament for Huber in 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, the ACC continues to struggle, but BYU, Arizona State, other Big 12 schools on the outside looking in. So, by the way, I should mention this: the 4th team out coming into weekend, Nebraska, got to win at Oregon last night.
Oregon, dude.
It's starting to actually pick up some steam a little bit here, Robbie.
This is what they do. You dog them, you down them, and then they find a way to bounce back up. All right, let's look at our upcoming schedule. Big games to watch. We'll obviously have Check Please coming up on Thursday, so your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday games. Tonight, standalone game, Iowa State at Kansas. Jayhawks are 2.5-point favorites against the Cyclones, which seems odd, but That's such a weird game, as Nick mentioned. That's a big game for both those teams. Tuesday, plenty of good games on the docket. Marquette at St. John's, a big one. See if the Johnnies can keep rolling at the top of the Big East. Vandy's at Florida. Kentucky needs to win at Ole Miss. Got to have that one. IU's at Wisconsin. Baylor at Texas Tech. Michigan State at UCLA. Arizona BYU. Purdue plays at Iowa. By the way, if you didn't see, Owen Freeman, Iowa's one of their best big men, out for the season with a finger injury. So it's a massive loss for the Hawkeyes. Wednesday games, Oregon at Michigan, Duke at Syracuse, Missouri's at Tennessee. That's a prove-it game for the Tigers. Colorado State's at New Mexico. Wake Forest at Stanford. Thursday games, these are going to be mainly off-the-radar games. Towson at Stony Brook. If you don't know the story of Towson, they've won 8 straight. They're rolling. Maryland's at Ohio State. Buckeyes probably need that one. Maryland's been playing really well lately. First place in the Big Sky on the line, Montana at Northern Colorado. St. Mary's puts their road winning streak on the line at Dusty's Dons. UC Riverside at UC San Diego on Thursday. And then Friday, again, Purdue's playing Friday night. They play USC at home. It's weird. Whatever. VCU's at Dayton. St. John's at UConn. Those are the Friday games. And then Saturday gives us a bit of a throwback to the Bracket Busters because we have the MAC Sun Belt Challenge at 2 p.m. So all of the teams in the MAC and the Sun Belt are playing games against one another starting at 2 p.m. on Saturday, which is really cool. I love it. Oregon's at Michigan State. That's big noon kickoff for basketball. Tennessee's at Oklahoma, South Carolina, Kentucky, Wisconsin at Iowa, Michigan's at IU, Kansas goes to Kansas State. Maybe we have a resurgence with the Wildcats, and they're starting to get rolling. First place in the Ivy League on the line between Yale and Cornell. A&M goes to Missouri. This is a big week for Missouri. Big week. They're getting some hype. Can they prove it? Florida goes to Auburn. Bubble game in the ACC. Pitt at North Carolina. Oh, boy. The last tough game for Duke. They have to play at Clemson. They won't play another tough team for the rest of the year until they get to March. Alabama's at Arkansas. Texas Tech at Arizona. UC San Diego goes to UC Irvine. There's a lot of good Big West games going on. St. Mary's at Oregon State. And if you are a degenerate gambler, stay up Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. for Northwestern at Washington. Those are two teams desperate to get out of the bottom 3 of the Big Ten and find a way to get in the Big Ten tournament. Sunday, Eagles-Chiefs. So, your favorite game of the week or a game you want to maybe circle or single out from that bunch there, Nick?
It's definitely not my favorite game of the week, but it's probably the most intriguing because it's Wake Forest at Stanford on Wednesday because they're both on the outside looking in. The winner's probably starting to think tournament a little bit. So, and you mentioned the other HTC game, Duke at Clemson. If Duke wins that one, assuming they don't get upset in Chapel Hill the last Saturday of March, they're probably undefeated. Yeah, 1 seed, undefeated ACC, and honestly, because we just have so many things to talk about, we've not talked about Cooper Flagg too much recently. He's been unreal. He's
fantastic.
Janai Broom's still in conversation, but I think Flagg is probably going to win Player of the Year.
It should be co-Player of the Year, in my opinion, between those two, yeah. Dusty, is there a game that stands out from that schedule that I ran through?
Friday, St. John's at UConn.
Yeah.
Fox. I'm pumped for that game.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
The Johnnies are on a run right now. Good to see Patino with the swag back. So, and as we said, UConn somehow keeps being UConn. They're probably better than the 19th team in the country. So, pumped for that game. Going to make sure I'm in front of a TV for that one.
I would assume they'll get Liam McNeely back for that one, if I'm not mistaken.
That's so timelines around.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that one. All right, let's get to some locks. We mentioned the locks of the year. We're not going to talk about it anymore. It is what it is. I don't want to make it any worse than what happened. Not a great week for us on the lock front. Oregon State sucks, so I'm 7-6 this year, 14-8 overall. Nick, UConn did not cover against DePaul, so you're now 8-4 this year, 11-10 overall. But the lock of the week by far, Dusty with Illinois Chicago going on the road, a dog winning outright. So Dusty's now 10-6 this year, 15-10 overall. So Dusty, I'm going to give you the honors to start with the lock of the week. What are we going with?
Glad you asked, because I haven't picked one.
I can turn it to Nick if you want me to.
No, in honor of Leonard Hamilton, I think the team's going to rise up for him tomorrow. They host Notre Dame.
Ooh.
Don't have a line. I would guess a game like that's maybe Florida State minus 4.5.
I was going to say 3.5. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm taking the Noles. For Leonard Hamilton, and happy retirement to that man in a few months.
Actually, I like that.
Probably close to a month.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good lock there. Okay. Nick, your lock of the week?
First off, Florida State had a hilarious loss on Saturday. They absolutely blew it at the end.
Yes, up 4 of 12 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Was that Boston College?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Fly high, baby. Shout out Larry David, one of my favorite episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm, when he opens a spite store. I love things out of spite, so my lock of the week this week is a spite bet. Give me Texas Longhorns covering versus Arkansas Wednesday. They get back down to earth. Calipari, he pulled out the trick Saturday night. They'll probably make 1 3 out of 47. Hook 'em, Trey Johnson. Hook 'em horns.
Okay.
I love it.
No horns down in this pod.
I love it. That's fantastic. All right. I'm going off the board a little bit with my lock. And again, I'm going to use some data here. So Sam Houston currently is the worst team in college basketball in terms of covering. I think they're like 2 and 15 in covering this year, covering the spread. Not great. Coming up on Thursday, they play at Florida International. In the last 10 games that Sam Houston has played, they are 1-9. The only team they beat was FIU. So now the Golden Panthers get Sam Houston on a return trip back on their home court. FIU is going to win, and they're going to cover. Lock it in. The Golden Panthers over Sam Houston. I had to go deep on that one because I'm just tired of playing the hits. So we're getting weird and doing something a little different.
Robbie, you think there's been someone who's been tailing Sam Houston all year? They have to cover one of these games. Is there some sicko out there?
It's got to be this one. It's got to be it. By the way, those are Sam Houston, Florida International are both 1-8 in Conference USA this year. So Florida International, this is your time to rise up, guys. Time to rise up. Make me look good. We're going to make it happen coming up on Thursday night, so should be fun. All right, Nick, it's time to turn it over to you, my friend. What a week of funnies. We could go a lot of different directions here, so I'm going to put my trust into your very capable and funny hands. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Nick's Funnies of the Week.
As always, Robbie, if I forget anything, please let me know.
Hold you accountable.
Hold me accountable. This is what we do a great job on this pod. Hold each other accountable. Okay. We'll start off. We already talked about the start. The Luka Doncic trade. The funniest part about it, if no one watched a press conference yesterday of Mavs GM Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd, it was the body language of Jason Kidd looked like it was a hostage video in Iraq. It was insane to watch. He looked like he wouldn't be anywhere else. Wouldn't be surprised if he slashed his tires on the way out. So Jason Kidd in general, and then the Mavericks losing by 100 points in their game yesterday too. It was hysterical. God bless you, Dallas fans. You have Jerry Jones running the Cowboys and whatever hell's going on down there. Good luck to all of you.
They're fine. It's okay. They got SMU. They're fine.
Yeah, you got SMU. You got Andy Enfield. Everything's okay. We'll go back to Cal in Lexington. So there's two parts of this, actually. We'll start off with Cal. Did anyone see his smile walking out of the locker room?
Oh, such a goober. Just that goober smile. He loved it.
It was so good. He had like an eyebrow raised. It was like such a memeable photo. Cal just always there for the moment. And because of this, did you guys see? So people who saw it, Rick Pitino put a video out telling UK fans to cheer, blah blah blah. Just see his son Richard Pitino making fun of Rick on Twitter.
I did not.
No. This is a tweet from @Lobo Coach Pitino. Quote: "Sitting here at a Starbucks in beautiful Logan, Utah, waiting on a video from @Real Pitino telling the Utah State fans to be nice to me tonight. #Go Lobos."
Oh my gosh, fantastic!
I love that so much. So shout out Richard Pitino. Got a good basketball team too, by the way.
Not bad.
You know who doesn't have a good basketball team? A recurring funny nominee, Doug Gottlieb. Yeah! Did you guys see his quote after his game?
Oh no.
He basically was calling out the haters, and Robbie. I'll believe it myself. This is from the horse's mouth, which is our boy Doug Gottlieb. This is him talking to the haters. Quote: he's demanding an apology from the haters. He said, quote, from every effing one of you, he demands an apology from every effing one of you when his team starts winning.
Everyone twice.
That's very Dan Hurley. Get us while you can.
So, hand up. If when they start winning, I'll apologize. I'll hand up.
Absolutely.
Dusty, hand up. We will all apologize.
I'll apologize.
But the funny of the week, we hinted at it earlier. Caleb Love, but no love was lost between Arizona and Arizona State.
Oh my gosh.
Caleb Love, he's done many great things. He retired the devil himself in Coach K, but he is also now the first person, I believe, to ever be headbutted and then ejected from the basketball game. I couldn't believe this. He got ejected. Granted, he got back into Arizona State's BJ Freeman. Shout out BJ's. But, yes, and then Bobby Hurley sent the entire bench into the locker room. They skipped a handshake line. This was just out of control. Arizona, I believe, won the basketball game. I probably should double-check that.
They did.
Accountability. Thank you, Robby.
You're welcome.
Yes, Caleb Love, again, I've never seen an individual get headbutted and then throughout the game. But, hey, it's just different in the Big 12, So, shout out Bobby Hurley, I guess, and BJ Freeman.
Don't look now, but Caleb Love is actually having a halfway decent, last week or so. He had 27, 7 and 6 against Arizona State. So, Arizona's in all of our top 25s this week. So, the Wildcats, I mean, they have an outside shot to win the Big 12.
They do.
Which is pretty incredible.
Aren't they like 9-1 in the Big 12?
Pretty incredible to think about where they were just a few weeks ago. Because right now, here, I'll bring up the Big 12 standings.
Yeah, they're tied with Houston at 9-1.
Yeah.
Here's our next four, though. At BYU, home Texas Tech, at Kansas State, then home Houston.
Okay. And then they go to Baylor after that. So
yes, to Baylor.
It's going to be tough. But, hey, if anyone can do it, I believe in Arizona, and Tommy Lloyd said no one ever. All right. Those were some pretty dang good funnies, Nick.
Did I miss anything?
I mean, outside of the fight between VCU and St. Louis and the fans in the stands. But
we talked about on Thursday, but you're right. I should include that.
We talked about it, but yeah, that was the other one that was just like, what are we doing, guys? It's A-10.
You don't walk into St. Louis Arena. You don't walk in there, Robby.
It's A-10 basketball. It's not that serious, guys. Come on. We're going to be all right. All right. Let's gather around the campfire, sing our campfire song, and let's get a good story from our pal Dusty. And reminiscing from his time playing Division I college basketball, it is time for Dusty's story time.
This is one that Nick heard over the weekend because, again, we were with my former teammate Perry Stevenson most of Saturday night. And I don't think I've told the story before on here of Perry and I's the beginning of our friendship. So I lived in a dorm called Kerwin Tower, which is 23 stories tall. And my roommate and I, he also is from Knowlesville, Indiana. And there's a girl in our dorm that was dating Perry Stevenson, or claimed was dating Perry Stevenson. And she told us that she would, because Cal and I are, fresh to Kentucky. I'm not on the team yet. We're trying to meet friends. And she says, well, Perry invited me to this party. I'll take you guys to him. And this is after Perry had his freshman year. We had a big block game at Maui, I believe it was, whatnot. And so we knew who he was. And she said, I'm going to warn you, he doesn't want to talk basketball. And I was like, okay, well, you can give me a subject to talk about. And she said, he loves SpongeBob. So I get to the party and I walked to him and was like, hey, Perry, I know you are. I'm not going to bore you with stuff. But we started talking about SpongeBob episodes and whatnot. Connect, and we're having drinks, both underage drinking. Kids drink responsibly, please. For 30 minutes to an hour, but kind of had a nice little bond. Very cool. About 2.5 weeks later, I go to that walk-on tryout, and the next morning is when, they said, we have conditioning tomorrow morning. We want you, Dustin is what they called me. We want you to be at conditioning. So that's when I woke up. I have told the story before at 4:30 a.m. My dad called me to make sure I was up. I was like, I've been sitting in my bed for 30 minutes. Let's do this. So I walked in the locker room after getting my practice jersey and all that stuff. The first person on the far right locker is Perry Stevenson. And Robby, you may have to edit this, but the quote is perfect. Perry simply just looks at me and he recognizes me, which I was flattered by. He just goes, what the are you doing here? And I looked at him and I just said, I'm not really sure. And then the next person next to him was Ramel Bradley. And Ramel this is senior leadership, was like, hey, come over here. And he's like, hey, I know what's going on, blah, blah. Gave me a cell phone number immediately, said if anything ever happens, let me know. We told the story about when I left the team and how Ramel was the one that had, was trying to lead that situation. But it's just one of those things where you know about how shocking my story was for Perry to meet me 3 weeks later, and he's probably just like, what's this little runt doing walking in here wearing a practice jersey? So we talked. We had a lot of funny things, and Nick was there, obviously. A lot of funny memories that we talked about. I'm trying to decide if I want to tell some of them. I might, but there's certain things that Gillespie said to certain players.
Oh gosh.
Nothing like, not calling someone like a racial slur. Like,
Sure.
Nothing like
Yeah.
But just certain words where it's like, that wouldn't go well in corporate America, let's just say, or that'd be an HR issue, let's put it that way.
Right.
But it was that's part of the reason why the weekend was so fun, was just reuniting with him. And sounds like he may be coming to the SEC tournament with us now.
Hey. So. Well, you're probably you're going to be getting stopped by everyone wearing a Kentucky shirt, seeing this big, tall guy walking around with you guys.
Oh, no, that's the funnier part, too. Nick knows this as well. So Perry was wearing a quarter zip, and it was red and navy blue. And people thought he was either an Arkansas player or cheering for Arkansas. And he was getting crap for it, and he just kept telling everyone, he's like, I didn't even think about this is my favorite shirt, and I just wanted to be cozy tonight. Not even thinking he's wearing Arkansas colors, and I can assure you he was 1,000,000% cheering his ass off for Kentucky. So.
It's funny that you mentioned it. I didn't get a chance to talk about it when we were going through Arkansas, Kentucky stuff. What do we think of Reed Sheppard wearing that Arkansas shirt, Kentucky shorts?
Not a fan at all. I don't like hate Reed Sheppard like some people are like, but that I didn't like that at all. I really didn't.
I mean, the coach of Kentucky is your dad's ex-roommate and teammate at Kentucky.
Right.
Like I thought it was I think it was a immature, poor taste kind of move where it's like, just be neutral. I mean, don't cause the simmer that you're going to get from it. But I'm not 19, 20 years old making, millions of dollars a year, so maybe you just don't care. But I thought that judgment could have been better. Just in terms of you have a fan base that loves you so much.
Right.
I guess he technically was neutral because he had Kentucky.
Yeah.
We should point out, but it's just weird. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not like his dad helped lead Kentucky to a national championship with the current Kentucky head men's basketball coach. Yeah, it's not like that,
And that, for the Arkansas coach, he came off the bench and, they couldn't even win a tournament game. But who's here to judge?
Yeah.
And should we know Ty Washington had some comments and
saw that too.
He lost to St. Peter's and Reed lost to Oakland. So, maybe if I did that too, I'd try to disassociate from the university. But again, we're just bitter too. This maybe a month from now, we won't be so mad at it, but
we're all being petty.
It's been funny. It's kind of pitting the Cal's players against Kentucky fans a bit. It's very odd.
But then you have the Willie Cauley-Steins,
John Wall.
John Wall is very outspoken.
Yeah.
There's another one of those teams back then that were like, no, BBN forever.
Mm-hmm. It's almost as if the culture kind of shifted over his last few years, where
you mean just like his success?
Yeah, like it was. Those guys are more Calipari players, not Kentucky players. But those guys that won national championships in the early 2010s, mid 2010s, they're Kentucky players more so than just what they are Calipari's players. That's just from my perspective.
And also too, those guys have every right to cheer on the coach, but especially the way Ty, the way he tweets something like "come and you'll trap" and "take you'll trap," that's a lot different than "hey, good for Coach Cal." I think there's a very fine line between those two.
Again, we need some better awareness. You would think they would have good awareness. They're point guards. Be aware of your surroundings. Come on, guys.
Good point.
I'll say, I didn't play for Cal. Good for Coach. Good for Calipari is my final thing with that on the weekend. Didn't want him to win. But I'll still honestly, sadly, kind of pull for Arkansas the rest of the year. I just because I love John Calipari and I always have. But on Saturday it was lose by 160 points, please. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, and just to make sure that your lock of the year was correct, which
most important. Yeah,
that was the more important of all of that.
13
All right, Nick, give me your end of show shout out as we wrap this show up.
Speaking of depressing things, Robby, we've talked before, we're diehard Colts fans. former quarterback Andrew Luck was on the Part of My Take podcast this week.
Yeah.
The only reason it just makes me sad is it's just there's something so sad about it's really like one of his few public appearances, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to come it's Super Bowl week because there's a small part of me if he kept playing, maybe we're playing this game right now, but instead he's being interviewed on Part of My Take, which I'm not listening to yet. I'm very excited to. It's just
me too.
I miss him. I
still love him. I'll always love him. Yep.
So shout Andrew Luck. Come on the pod.
Come on the pod. That'd be great. Dusty, end of show shout out.
I'm going to try and make this one quick because it's a long story. So I've been trying to summarize it. Ken Paul is his middle name. Ken Paul Mink is known as the oldest player to ever score in a college basketball game at the age of 73.
What?
So Ken, initially resident of Maryville, Tennessee, was also where Lee Humphrey of Florida is from.
Ooh.
Sharpshooter, right?
Yeah.
So Ken attended Lee's College in Jackson, Kentucky in the 50s, played varsity basketball. He ended up going to college and then got expelled and kicked out for a campus prank that later on found out that he didn't commit. So he went to the Air Force after that, became a journalist, ended up writing 26 books, and according to this, they're all available on Amazon if you want to do that search. So in 2007, Mink contacted several colleges in Knoxville to see if he would let him play basketball. So Rowan State, their coach, said he was interested. So put him on the team. He was fouled in a game against King College and hit 2 free throws to score. Played in 7 games and scoring 3 times. The funny part of the story is, first of all, they raised the average attendance from 100 people to 400 people while he was there, as people were learning who he was. But the team had to forfeit games because Mink was taking an online Spanish class that was then deemed not eligible. So then they got in trouble for playing with an ineligible player because he only had 12 credit hours instead of 15 credit hours. So
wow,
that's our man. He ended up playing in the Senior Olympics as well and won gold medals in free throw shooting, 3-point shooting, and freestyle hot shot shooting.
Shout out.
Wow.
Him and his wife, Amelia, had an online travel magazine called The Traveler Adventure to this day. So there you go.
He was
Ken Paul Mink.
A 38-year career as a journalist, too.
Yeah.
Editor at the Knoxville News Sentinel. That's a big-time job for back in that day.
Yeah.
So
God bless this man.
Way to go, Ken Mink. What a great man.
And also, too, can I shout out to Robby, by the way, who is podcasting sick for us today. So shout out, Robby. Thanks for joining us.
This is my sick game.
And you got the big time dub this weekend too, Robby. So
I did.
Keep your head up, champ.
Helped me feel a little better. I had to work really late, so I didn't get to watch until the last 8 minutes of that game, which felt weird the whole time. But good night. Yeah, was
we
glad
watched
to
it
get the
from
win.
Jeff Ruby's in Lexington, and it was such a fun game to watch.
Yeah,
so
really good game. My end of show shout out is going to Dick Vitale because for the first time in nearly 2 years, Dick Vitale will be calling a college basketball game coming up Saturday, which we. Fantastic.
Did not know that. That's awesome.
So 6 p.m. Eastern when Duke is at Clemson, Dick Vitale will be back on the call with Dave O'Brien on ESPN. He's been fighting cancer and so excited. For as much flack as he gets for maybe being a little over the top or maybe saying, funky, weird, goofy stuff, you can't deny the fact that he loves college basketball and he loves doing his job. And for someone like that, we need people like that in college basketball. So excited to get a chance to hear him coming up on Saturday, back on the headset for ESPN, and what should be a really good game between Duke and Clemson. So, Dickie Vitale, shout out to you, my friend. Pumped to have you back on the call and looking forward to that game coming up on Saturday. Yep, a true PTP prime time player. So, that will do it for episode 18 of the D1 and Done pod. Once again, we appreciate all of you tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll have we should do a Sunday Super Bowl pod to get you prepped and ready to roll. We'll get the gang all back again in person, and we got some plans coming up Sunday to watch the Eagles beat the Chiefs. Oh, I'm sorry,
Chiefs beat.
The Chiefs beat the Eagles, sorry.
Chiefs beat.
Either way, it should be a good Super Bowl, so we're looking forward to it. So, guys, enjoy the college hoops this week. Hope to see the Wildcats bounce back. Rizzo has now come into the frame. He's come to say hi, and he wishes all of you have a fantastic week of college hoops. So for Nick Mills, Dusty Mills, I'm Robby Donahoe. Thanks for listening to this episode of the D1 and Done Pod, and we will see you next time.
13 threes.
13? How?
13.